I just had a good bye week. Got to focus on some technical things that we are still trying to improve on, and more importantly, just trying to get guys back healthy or as healthy as we can get them at this time of year. Much needed kind of break in some things. Now, obviously, after 2 weeks ago, you'd like to carry some of that momentum with you. That's the plan, obviously, as we get into this week. But knowing we've got a really tough opponent in front of us, they've kind of got a similar story. I mean, they've been in a lot of ball games, played extremely well, and just could have went either way type of deal. So similar situations from that standpoint. I think they've got a couple of guys that are beat up that they're trying to get back as well. But Dana does an outstanding job wherever he's been. Always very difficult to prepare for. They've really come out of the gates in the last 2 weeks. I think had 21 points there against Central Florida in the first half, and then kind of did the same thing with Memphis, jumped out and was really rolling. And so got a lot of weapons on offense. They're playing very sound defensively. I think their front seven is playing extremely well. Putting a lot of pressure on the run game, putting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They got guys flying around, so we know we've got a tough task in front of us, but looking forward to getting back on the field today and getting back on the game field come Saturday.
Questions?
So what kind of offense is he running? Seems like it's a little different than what Dana's usually become associated with.
Yeah, I think Dana changed a little bit. Even when he had Case at Houston the last time he was there, started changing a little bit. And then Oklahoma State started running the football a little bit more. But really West Virginia is when he's really started doing what he's doing now, which a lot of 11 personnel, putting a big emphasis on the run game. And he's carried a lot of the concepts, in my opinion, from the Leach kind of background to it and installed it in what he's doing now. But there's a much more emphasis on the run game than there has been in years past, for sure.
How similar is that to what you're doing offensively?
It's closer now than what it was back when with the Leach part of it. Obviously, the emphasis on the run game part of it is a big change of that. But I think a lot of those guys, as you look at kind of Leach's tree of guys, whether you're talking about Dana, you're talking about Sonny and what they're doing at SMU, even Lincoln, they're running the football. There's an emphasis there. Obviously, if you watched the game the other night, they ran it pretty well. Now, a lot of it was with the quarterback, but a lot of those guys have transitioned into that part of it. And just understanding, you're going to have to be able to do both, whether it's weather or whether you're coming up against an opponent that is going to be able to from a coverage standpoint, take some things away from you, and they're lightening that box, and you're wanting to take advantage of it. So I think a lot of those guys have transitioned that way a little bit.
Is that kind of trying to stay one step ahead? Stay one step ahead of defenses? Yes.
He hasn't been here in a while. Glad you're here, though. Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's just the way college football has changed, too. I mean, when all of that really started, everybody was in a four-man front, and there wasn't a lot of three-man fronts going on out there. And people would try to change and maybe go to an odd front just for that week, trying to get more guys into coverage, but that generally didn't work out well for them. So I think as football is always changing, I think guys have got to change with that and trying to stay ahead.
So on senior night, Trevis comes to mind for sure.
Yeah.
And before the season, he kind of openly stated he wants to get to the NFL, and we've talked about the body transformation. Wouldn't he look like a basketball player when he got here, and looks very different now. A lot of times with the senior, and especially, when some of those losses were tough in the middle of the year, at that position especially, you can see maybe he doesn't care quite as much about stopping the run, or he's only worried about, racking up numbers, to impress NFL. He has not been that guy at all. He's been kind of the backbone, and just I would imagine you have a lot of good things to say about him, as senior day approaches.
Got a ton of good things to say about him, got a ton of good things to say about our senior class. I mean, the whole group has done a magnificent job of just, keeping everybody going down the same path, staying locked into what we've got to do. but obviously Travis has been our team captain. Has been a great leader for us. He does a great job, not just on the field, but off the field, in the locker room. And he keeps everything in perspective. I mean, he knows the way he approaches practice and the way he approaches what we do in games, it filters down to everybody. And he's going to be in the spotlight when it comes to those things. But he has handled all of that in an unbelievable fashion. And, you know, I couldn't be prouder of this senior group, and especially him, for the way that they've handled all of the adversity that we faced and continue to just keep plugging away and continue to get better throughout the year.
You know, speaking of Travis's transformation, is there any other guys that maybe you think back to when you're recruiting them and you're scouting them and you think, wow, to now how far they've come?
Yeah, I mean, you could really kind of go down the list because, you know, Diamond, when he got here, what he looked like and what he looks like now. Manny, you know, transitioning from being a quarterback primarily in high school, playing both ways, but really that being more of his focus to what he's doing now. Reggie and the growth that he's had in the season that he's had on top of that. You know, Shamar, Chris Ivy, you know, Toe. I mean, all of those guys have made great strides, not only with what they've done physically and what they've done on the field, but just, you know, I talk about it a lot. These guys are all like my sons, so you see from a maturity standpoint how far they've come, and really excited for their futures and what it holds.
What was that transformation like for Manny coming from, you know, playing both ways to going all in on defense? And
Yeah, you know, I mean, Manny jumped in both feet, and he understood. I mean, we were real upfront about what we were recruiting him as coming out, so he knew he was going to play defense when he got here and was excited about that. There's just a lot of maturity and growth and technical things that, you know, in high school, yeah, I'm playing safety and I'm playing quarterback, I'm playing all these spots, but really focusing in on one thing and learning more about that position and then developing his craft at that point. And it's been a great move for him and us.
a little bit more meaning in a way behind the senior class, because this would be the first senior class for you since you've been here where you recruited all of them, correct?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I mean, first day I stepped on campus, to me, you know, that team bought into what we were doing. I mean, all of those guys have all become, like, I'm so proud of Dane. I didn't recruit Dane, but, you know, for what he's doing and fixing playing the Grey Cup and all of those things, and so excited for him and what his future holds. And just like I am for these guys that, yeah, this was our first recruiting class here, these guys that have gone all the way through the program and what they've done and bought into and continue to stand firm and proud of. So all of them are important, but obviously this being that first class that we brought in, those guys have done a tremendous job.
Over the course of that 5-game stretch to start conference play, you know, and a couple of them just as heartbreaking as losses can be, was there ever a moment where you worried a little bit? I don't know if you guys work out first on Sunday or Monday, but, you know, first time back after one of those games where you thought, you know, I'm not sure exactly what I'll get, and the leadership from the team showed you immediately that, okay, these guys aren't going in the tank.
Yeah, we had some tough losses in there. I mean, you can name a few. And I don't know that there was ever any doubt in our mind how they would react. But I don't know that I expected them to react as good as they did. You know, you felt like, hey, we're going to have to really, you know, bring them in and pull them together and make sure that we're all locked. But, you know, we'd meet on Sunday as a team, and, you know, those guys were completely locked into what we were doing. Obviously frustrated and disappointed maybe after a game, yet understood, saw the growth that was happening, saw the direction that we were taking, knew how close we were, and it was just about getting over humps. And, you know, that's what you're trying to do right now. I mean, you got a big win, and, you know, that seems like a long time ago now. We got to try to carry some of that momentum and finish this season out. I mean, I want to finish it out for them, most importantly, because of what they've done and how they've worked and, you know, in my opinion, what they deserve.
Any other questions?
Been a week. Do you have any update on Zach Smith? Is he good to go?
Yeah, we'll find out more today when we get to practice and see where he is. kind of with all of them right now.
Anything else?
You can have a Grey Cup watch party Sunday night.
Well, you know, because we'll be up here working. I don't know exactly. I hadn't looked at the time when it actually starts 5. So what I plan on doing is not answering my phone and doing any of that, just recording it so I can go home and try to act like I'm watching it live and get a chance to kind of watch the feel of it. But we'll definitely be cheering pretty loud for him. And I think today's his birthday, so happy birthday, Dane. I know you're not watching or paying attention, but really, really proud of him. And you know, Dane's been one of those guys that just he's battled all the way through it, you know, and if you ever give Dane a chance, Dane's going to take the reins and run with it, and that's what he's shown to do up there, and just really proud of him and cheering loud from him from way down south.
You've been on both sides of this rivalry, maybe the only one, I guess. It's also related. You haven't coached anymore, yeah. So
No.
this is the only one. Does
Yeah.
it have a flavor to? I mean, I'm sure you run into them on the recruiting trail some.
Sure.
Just
We
is
go
there a
head to
flavor
head
this
on a
rivalry?
lot of different things, and the rivalry throughout the years has been great on both sides of it. And you know, as you think about it, every year that this game happens, you can throw whatever the records are out the window. It's going to be a physical game. Emotions will be involved, and it always ends up being a great, entertaining game for the fans. But for us, it's one of those weeks that you know you're not going to have to really talk a whole lot about. Guys are going to get up and get ready to play, and I'm sure I know when we were down there, it was the same way. So it's a great rivalry. It's always been a great matchup, and don't expect anything different come Saturday.
Timmons, your head of security. Eric's kind of writing about him, but can you just talk about, he's been here your whole time, just your relationship with him and just what he does for the program?
Yeah, Joe's been great. I mean, Joe takes care of, he's got so many different hats that he's got to wear. And, you know, he's one of the first people that I got to meet when I got on campus, and got a great relationship with him. He does a great job at what he does, and taking care of us when we're on the road from a security standpoint, and you know, does it out of the goodness of his heart, not looking for anything special, just a guy that has always been involved in our program, whether it's football, basketball, whatever that might be, and he does a great job of it.